Hello and welcome to our ELA mini PD. This mini PD video is going to walk through some great tools that would be a really good way to incorporate technology into the ELA classroom. These tools could absolutely be used across different curriculum and different subjects, but today we're just going to focus on how we can impact the ELA classroom. I'm going to be 100% transparent by saying that I tried at first to use AI to generate this presentation, but ended up not using AI because I really wanted to be able to put my own thoughts and things like that in there, and I had some very specific ideas. So I said that to make the point of that sometimes our technology really helps us and it saves us a lot of time, and then sometimes it's just better to do it the old-fashioned way. So just to be transparent about that, I'm going to give you several tools today. You're going to have a copy of the presentation, you're going to have a link to resources, and if you are watching this recording, there will also be a Google form that you can fill out that will serve as your attendance to be able to award PD credit for viewing this video that can be applied to towards your professional development hours. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to click through the presentation. It's going to be old-fashioned because we're going to be jumping, if you see all these tabs I have open, to all these different resources today too. So like I said, we're going to focus on the ELA classroom. We are going to talk about things other than just using our smartboard to show a movie. And just a little bit about me, if you've never attended one of my professional development sessions or anything, I did teach in a school for 9 years. I taught multiple grade levels across many different subjects. I think I've taught every subject between 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. I do have certifications and degrees in instructional technology and both in leadership, and then my background is in elementary education. I am a certified Google trainer. I host lots of Google PDs throughout the state, throughout the year, and my personal motto and the reason why I'm so passionate about doing things like this is that I genuinely believe that our technology tools can help us as teachers to work smarter, not harder. So it is never my intention to put more work on you or to be a burden, or these things are a burden for you. That I want them to make your life easier and enhance your experience teaching and enhance your students' instruction. So the first thing that I want to mention is the Alabama Digital Literacy and Computer Science Standards. So yes, we're going to get to tools, I promise, but I'm going somewhere with this. So these standards were adopted in 2018. They are a course of study just like your ELA standards that you teach, and they go for grades 9 through 12, or I'm sorry, K through 6 and 9 through 12. And they are supposed to be implemented just like your core standards are. So in K through 6th grades, typically these standards are mostly pushed out through like our library media sessions that the students, if they go to a specific library time, the library media specialist incorporates these standards into a whole group lesson. If your students attend some type of STEM activity or computer lab or something like that at their school, and then if there's nothing like that offered, then these are things that are supposed to be implemented in your classroom as well. So, and hopefully today we'll give you some resources to be able to do that if you're not already. In our upper grades, it says 9 through 12, but also in the 7th and 8th grade, a lot of these standards are implemented in classes that focus around technology, our computer science discoveries classes, computer science, robotics, especially if they, get into the more concentrated and specific computer science classes with that. So lucky for you, I have broken down the DLCS. That's one of my big projects that I've done here and constantly updating that, where you have got a guide for your grade level. You have not only got resources to use and also the standards. So I'm going to jump over to my instructional technology resources website and then also the DLCS portion of that. So I have the grade levels by drop down right here, and it's also by domain. I'm just going to click on 2nd grade. So within each folder, I've gotten resources through there. You have a link to the specific course of study, but this is the document that I want to show you. Is I have taken and typed out all the standards. I've given you the substandard. I've given you a link to a lesson that teaches that standard, or a resource, or a something online. If it aligns to a content area standard, an ELA, math, science, or social studies, I have crossed that for you as well, and then given some vocabulary. So this is kind of like our cheat sheet that I have created for our district, so that if you Don't think your kids are getting any of these standards anywhere else. This is a way that you can incorporate them. So just looking at this right here, standard 3 of computational thinker, construct elements of a computer program using basic commands. Okay, you're thinking like that is absolutely computer. But I've tied this to ELA Standard 19, which if I have to guess, it probably goes along with something like putting things in sequential order, because whenever you're giving a computer commands, that is essentially what you're doing. So even though it's not specific to computers, we're thinking about that skill, the skill of sequencing and how it can apply in both ELA and in the world of technology. So I have one of these done for every grade level, so you can access it through those links. There's also a link to the companion site. This site is phenomenal. I use it all the time when I'm trying to find resources. I will say I was looking through here the other day and there are some links that are broken, so I'm going to report some of those in. But you can click on every strand and they have got them grouped K through 2, 3, 5, middle school and high school. They've got the standards. They have some lessons that are just ready for you, ready to print. And then also some links to some tools. So that is an available resource for you. And then I also have everything built by domain. So if you are a specials teacher and you are teaching grades K through 3 and you want to focus on Global Collaborator, you can have access to this one document and you can see all of the standards that go along with Global Collaborator for those grades in one place. So I've kind of got it. It's the same information. It's however you want it served up. So I also want to, grab my water in case I start coughing here in a second like everybody else is. I want to kind of talk about, before we get into it, I promise I'm going to get there, also in these grade levels, what technology integration kind of looks like. So in the K through 3 classrooms, we're really wanting to focus on how technology is a way for students to make relationships between themselves and technology. We can talk about the types of technology that we can use to learn different things and how it helps us. We have to think that these kids have always been in a world with technology. We did not have that growing up. I did not have a giant smartboard in my kindergarten classroom. And so these students are used to receiving information. And so we kind of at a school level can make a connection between how we can get educational information. It's not just entertainment on an iPad. We can learn sequencing, communication skills, and collaboration skills. And then these are direct links to those Google folders that I showed you as well. In grades 4 through 6, now that we know it exists, we really want to make an emphasis on appropriate use. How do we interact online? What is cyberbullying? What does that look like? How am I communicating with people? What is safe and what is not safe? How do I protect my data? It is never too early to start those things. And so, how can we use technology to communicate with other people? And then how can we use it to help us draw our own conclusions? How do we start doing research to find out things that we want to know? Some skills that are mentioned from DLCS that can be incorporated into our curriculum: analysis, communication skills, publishing information, and collaboration. And then finally, at those upper grade levels, 7 through 12, we know what it is. Hopefully by now we have been reminded of appropriate practices. And so now it becomes, well, what is going to be best for me to accomplish my goals? What do I need to use to complete this? We also can look at algorithmic thinking, communication, and then this big design thinking. Whenever I was putting together some resources for design thinking, lots of things came up in searches about these new awesome careers for design thinkers and things like that. So that is a really up and coming field of study. And so introducing that even as early as, younger high school is going to be something that really makes a big impact on our students. Okay, so off my DLCS soapbox, all the information is there. If you ever feel like you need a training or need more resources, I am more than happy to help you with that. So now let's jump into our Padlet. So I love a Padlet. It is just such a great place to put all kinds of information. Here is a link, here is a screenshot, here is a QR code, however you want to get to it, but here it is. So this is the same Padlet that's going to be used throughout all of these mini PD sessions. Today we have a pretty complete list of ELA things. We'll be adding to the rest of them as we go. And this is just going to be kind of like your new resource guide. And I believe I have it open where you can even add your own things. So if you're watching this and you think like, oh my gosh, I use this all the time and she doesn't have it on there, feel free to add it. This is going to be a cumulative resource for our district. More than welcome. The more the merrier. Please add it in. Just don't, like go in and erase stuff and put weird names or things like that in there for me. I'd appreciate that. So there's the Padlet. So now I promise we're going to go ahead and get into our lesson. So the reason I also confessed about my AI fiasco at the beginning is because it did give me this. It was actually a couple of slides put together and I kind of narrowed them together. So it did provide some tools to me that I had not thought about, and some good things for ELA. So I'm going to try to, go through the grade levels with these different things, but storytelling is going to be a big thing in our lower elementary to upper elementary. So there were two tools that the presentation mentioned for me to get the Storybird, and then I also chose Book Creator. So Storybird, I'm going to jump over there really quickly. It is very simple. You sign in with Google. It is free. I have not checked to see if there's an app. There might be an app. To see if we can get that on iPads, but you make an account, you have your stuff. It's very simple. There are little challenges that your teacher can assign, and if we're going to write a book, it is pick and write. So I'm going to choose this little sad puppy to be my book. I can add a title, and then over here on the left I can incorporate pages. I can pull in illustrations and things like that. Something I have noticed looking at this does require typing. So my upper elementary, hey, this is a great way to incorporate those typing skills, part of Global Collaborator. It does, those editing skills and things like that. But if I really want to use this for littles, you're going to need some type of extension that allows speech to text software, which we have a couple of those available if you want them to be able to do this. Or you can write a book as a class. You can put this on, whole group and work together to make a class book. So that's something that could be done using Storybird. So it is completely free. I'm not sure if there's a limit on how many that we have, but a cute activity that you could do. It can be public or private. I would recommend doing it private if any students are doing that. And then you're going to have your book that you can display. And then you can also print them. So that's something too that you could do. For, if you're wanting to send home some type of publication that the students have made, and that you could, showcase their work. The other tool, I'm going to close that out so I can kind of clear my screen a little bit, that I want to mention is Book Creator. So I have been working with Book Creator for about a year and a half. It is a fantastic product. It does have a paid version. We had the free trial last year. It came with part of our Google. When we upgraded our Google workspace, we were able to get all the features for Book Creator. That has now ended, but there are still several free things that can be used. And so everybody accesses this through Clever, teachers, students, everybody. So it is in Clever. It has been vetted. They have an awesome support team. I can't say enough great stuff about it. So with Book Creator, we can make what we call libraries. And so these are kind of like little collections that you can create for your classes. And then you can either allow students to either edit templates that you have put out there, or they can make their own books. So I'm just going to kind of stick with, you can see right here, which I have a district view. I have some teachers that have created books. This is a class right here where a class was creating books that are shared with me where I can see those. So really, really awesome product. So right here on the shelf, you can invite your students to join and they are able to see the books that we have. Again, thinking about my little people who are not going to be able to independently interact with this can be something that we put up on our ViewSonic that we do as a daily warm-up. KWL about snakes. Let's throw it out there, just random stuff right there. So it really has a lot of like ready-made stuff for you. This is a February activity book. So, it has all sorts of things to go along with the book with February. This could be daily warm-ups, daily skills, things like that, okay? If you have your older grades, this does integrate in with Google Classroom, I believe. I'm trying to get to that sharing part. Whoops. I do not want that. Okay. There usually is a little sticker right there. I may have to get to a different type of book. Let me go back to my library. So I'm going to go to a new book. This is if you're wanting to create one from scratch. That you can do that, but I'm not going to go back to the scratch. I'm going to go back here to my Discover. This is where all the good stuff is at. So this is where you can find things that are already made. They're under different categories. So if you are wanting to incorporate some digital citizenship into ELA, you have different options to choose from right here. You can also sort them by grade level and look at different things by different grade levels. You can browse all the libraries if we're wanting to bring in math with something with ELA. So we can pick a book right here, and now I have that shared a classroom. So this is going to be something I think I had already created that or already added that one. So you can share this directly to your Google Classroom as something that your students can interact with. So super, super simple, very, very creative. Even as early finishers, you could assign some of these that are kind of like little fun things. It does integrate in with some other applications that you can connect with. As a teacher, there's lots of resources for how you can implement this, provide lesson ideas, resources by subject, on and on and on. Plus, fun fact, they are based out of the UK, and so every time I do a call with them, it is always the end of their day, and I love listening to them. So, Book Creator, definitely highly recommended on my list for ELA applications. This is going to be borderline on thinking about like our SAMR chart. S is going to be substitution, which is where we have basically, we could do something on paper and we've substituted a technology piece into it. But we could also get into that modification and redefinition by being able to create something that we couldn't create without technology. So it depends on how you use it with that. Book Creator is also linked on our Padlet. I have a very big note right there with stars that says we access that through Clever. Storybird is on there as well. Okay, poetry. So let's revisit the past for a minute. I told y'all that I taught pretty much every subject. One year when I was teaching 6th grade, we decided to split writing from the EL teacher, and lucky me, got to teach writing. And I had so much fun with it. I was like, I do not know what any of these rules mean, but I can do fun things and with students in our writing. So poetry was actually a unit that my kids really, really enjoyed. I thought it was going to be super boring, not boring at all, okay? So there are some digital tools that can kind of scaffold that learning for students with their poetry creation. One is in Canva. It's an online poem generator. Now you're thinking, well, I don't want it to write it for them. I want them to write their own poetry. Okay, yes, but if we give them a prompt and then they have to work with the computer to be able to get their final product, then that is that scaffolding journey and that differentiated instruction. So, Magic Write, we can give it some prompts to do some ideas. So, I love an acrostic poem. Let's do that. So, an acrostic poem for February of all things. We're heading into February. So, and yes, I misspelled that. So, it doesn't have a capital letter. So, it's going to give me some ideas. Generate. Oh, it got stumped on A for a second. Okay, so it has generated a poem. Let us know if this isn't appropriate. That's just going to be, if it generates something, but we have good filters in place and like that. But your student can now say, I want more like this or this, but lower reading level. So there were some, pretty large words in there that would be kind of hard to understand. So now we can go through that process of editing the poem. So, they can take the words that they have provided, or they may read something and say, ooh, but I wonder if it said this. And then they can insert it. Another thing about Canva, now once they create their poem, they can be super creative and add designs and graphics and all those things and have a really pretty published piece of work. So I like that tool of being able to have, it's like they have an individual teacher for themselves to be able to give them some ideas and things like that without you having to split yourself between 25 kids. It is also linked on the Padlet. The other thing is this